first, fast, accurate. Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station.
News Radio WHAM 1180.
Rain and falling temperatures this morning. We're down to 65 degrees. It is Wednesday, October 15th. Welcome in. It's the morning news on News Radio WHAM 1180. I'm J.P. Hastings.
And I'm Sherry Smith. Coming up in the news, another case of Ebola at a Texas hospital.
And should Rochester police officers have body cameras?
Those stories and more on the way in about a minute.
Right now, it's 7 o'clock. Get you going here. Traffic and weather on the 10s. News Radio WHAM 1180.
Thanks, JP. Not many problems to report as our highways inbound fill in for the morning commute. And Grease 390 south from 104 to Lyle is running green, 62 miles an hour. And on the east side, 490 in both directions at 441 is on time, 59 miles an hour. A few accidents to be aware of this morning. One on 390 southbound by Scottsville Road and another on 531 by 490. Your next report at 7:10 on Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station. News Radio WHAM 1180. I'm Julie DePasquale in the Salino and Barnes Traffic Center. If you've been injured, don't wait, call 8.
The forecast for today, a very different day as compared to yesterday. Cloudy skies, some occasional rain, even a slight chance of a thunderstorm. Mild but not as warm as yesterday. Temperatures will fall through the 70s and back into the 60s today. For tonight, mainly cloudy, couple showers. We'll see temperatures drop down to the upper 50s to near 60. And for tomorrow, some breaks of sun, slight chance of a shower, upper 60s for highs. From the 13 WHAM Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Marty Snyder on Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio WHAM 1180.
Radar showing that the heaviest rain is still just headed into our area. Temperatures are now falling. It's down to 65 downtown.
News Radio WHAM 1180 weather. A service of the William Attar Car Accident Lawyers.
News Radio WHAM 1180 time 7:02. A second healthcare worker in Dallas has tested positive for Ebola after reporting a fever. Word comes today from a statement on the Texas Health Department website. The revelation comes amid scathing accusations by a nurses union that the Liberian Ebola patient who died was left in an open area of a Dallas emergency room for hours and that nurses at first lacked proper protective gear.
Meanwhile, a public statement from the first Dallas nurse who's being treated for Ebola.
This is Steve Futterman in Dallas. This is the first time we have heard directly from Nina Pham since she tested positive for the Ebola virus. She released a brief statement. In it, she says, "I am doing well and want to thank everyone for their kind wishes and prayers."
The CDC is still trying to figure out how Pham contracted the disease.
Professor Trish Pearl with Johns Hopkins University says it's easy to make a costly mistake while removing the gown, mask, and gloves.
You take off your glasses or you just touch your face. I mean, it can be something as simple as that can be almost devastating.
But she stresses there's still no evidence the virus has been transmitted through the air.
If you don't have contact, you're not going to become infected.
Nick Einelli, Washington.
Meanwhile, the number of Ebola cases in Africa continues to rise.
We're going to hit 10,000 cases, unfortunately, relatively soon.
And Dr. Bruce Aylward at the World Health Organization says the number of Ebola cases could soar within 2 months.
We anticipate the number of cases occurring per week by that time is going to be somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 a week.
More than 4,400 people have died in the outbreak so far, most in West Africa. The death rate has now reached 70%.
If West Africa was a can of gas waiting for a match to hit it, the rest of Central Africa is a tanker truck waiting for a match to hit it.
Michael Osterholm's an infectious disease expert at the University of Minnesota.
The U.S. response has been woefully inadequate. When the president tells us 5 weeks ago that he's going to send 3,000 troops, and until last weekend there were only 200 troops on the ground, that's not 3,000.
Officials say U.S. Ebola screening at 4 more airports will begin Thursday. I'm Steve Kathan.
Word today that Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has donated $25 million to the CDC Foundation, stressing that Ebola needs to be brought under control before it turns into another global health crisis like HIV or polio.
Here in Rochester, the city council took up some hot-button issues last night. First, a local group is hoping to convince Rochester's city council to buy body cameras for Rochester police officers. The United Christian Leadership Ministry argues that officers with body cameras would improve their accountability. The Reverend Lewis Stewart leading the charge.
It has always been a problem. Now the fact is we want to avoid what's going to go on in Ferguson. We need to avoid a whole lot of things that are going to cause this community to blow up.
City officials estimated it would cost around $1 million. Currently, Gates, the only local police department that uses the cameras.
Police are looking for suspects after a man was shot on Chilai Avenue last evening. They say the 26-year-old victim was standing in the area of Chilai Avenue, not far from Salina Street, around 6 o'clock when a man approached him and shot him. The victim taken to strong. He is expected to survive.
Grand jury indicted a level 3 sex offender living in Webster.
Irondequoit police say 33-year-old Justin Mischke didn't report a change of address when he moved from Irondequoit to Webster. New York state law requires that he do so within 10 days. He was convicted of raping an 11-year-old girl. Police say he's been arrested before for failing to register required information. Mischke is now facing a felony charge of failing to register or verify as a sex offender. Kevin Schenk, News Radio WHAM 1180.
A Monroe County woman also indicted by a grand jury in connection with a deadly crash in Henrietta. Amanda Hunt of Rush alleged to have been drunk when she hit and killed 51-year-old Lisa Welk on Calkins Road in July. Welk's daughter was also in the car. She, though, survived. Hunt is facing charges that include aggravated vehicular homicide, vehicular manslaughter, and aggravated DWI. She had been convicted of drunk driving back in 2011.
The Mega Millions jackpot continues to grow. No one matched all 6 numbers in the multi-state lottery on last night, pushing Friday's jackpot to an estimated $180 million. News Radio WHAM 1180 time is 7:07. It's the morning news, a service of First Niagara Small Business Banking. On the way, an attack in Boston and on a Connecticut bus. Wait to hear this. It's 3 minutes after a check of traffic and weather on the 10s. News Radio WHAM 1180.
Get new tires before winter. That's nyapplecountry.com.
7:10 on News Radio WHAM 1180. Coming up, The Walking Dead sets a record. That story and more news on the way in about 2 minutes.
For now, traffic and weather on the 10s. News Radio WHAM 1180.
Traffic is starting to fill in on our inbound highways, but not many problems to report this morning. On the west side, no issues on 531 east between Union and Elm Grove. And in Irondequoit, 590 south from 104 to the 490 interchange is also in the green, 61 miles an hour. A few accidents to be aware of, one on 390 southbound by Scottsville Road and another on 531 by 490. Your next report at 7:20 on Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio WHAM 1180. I'm Julie DePasquale in the Salino and Barnes Traffic Center. If you've been injured, don't wait, call 8.
Hey friends, Lonsbury here. Clean water is safe water, and Martin Water Conditioning can tell you more about the water you drink every day. Call or visit their website for free water testing. There's no cost and no obligation. 1-800-887-7555 or martinwater.com.
The forecast for today, occasional showers. Temperatures will be falling. That's already started. We're down into the 60s now. Cloudy, maybe a passing shower tonight. Lows near 60. A few breaks of sun tomorrow, maybe a shower. And highs in the upper 60s. Right now, rain moving in, and we have dropped down to 63 downtown.
News Radio WHAM 1180 weather, a service of the law offices of William Attar.
News Radio WHAM 1180 time is 7:11. Police in Boston say a homeless man has been placed in custody after allegedly stabbing 2 park rangers while they were on patrol at the Boston Comet. One of those rangers, a 20-year-old veteran, is in critical condition. The other listed in stable condition at Boston hospitals.
Officers responded quickly, and through their efforts and the efforts of the public was very instrumental. They helped follow the individual that was involved in this incident. Our officers were able to apprehend the suspect.
That's Boston Police Commissioner William Evans.
Connecticut State Police have killed a passenger who say they went berserk aboard a tour bus traveling on Interstate 95. The bus was traveling from New York City's Chinatown to the Mohegan Sun Casino. Police say a passenger's called 911. The bus then pulled over at a construction site where a police officer was on patrol and aware of the situation.
The suspect had assaulted 2 people on the bus with that cutting instrument. Those 2 people were provided emergency care and transported to Norwalk Hospital, where they're expected to recover from their injury.
Lieutenant Paul Vance of the Connecticut State Police says the officer fired when the suspect got out and approached with a knife.
Thousands of Americans are learning their foreclosure nightmare is not over at all. People who lost their homes during the housing bust are now facing debt collectors, garnished wages, and frozen bank accounts. The debt collection offensive comes just as many are starting to get back on their feet.
And J.P. Morgan Chase is reporting a profitable third quarter 1 year after posting a rare quarterly loss. The nation's biggest bank posted net income of $5.6 billion for the quarter that ended September 30th. J.P. Morgan Chase had a $380 million loss in the third quarter of 2013 when huge legal claims ate up profits.
Well, here we go. Macy's says it will open its doors at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day, 2 hours earlier than they did last year. Macy's says it's in response to significant sustained consumer interest.
Fashion is going to eclipse gift cards in terms of apparel being the number one gift-giving item this year. And Macy's always wins on apparel, and Macy's being open earlier is simply satisfying shopper demand.
That's retail analyst Bert Flickinger.
News Radio WHAM 1180 time is 7:13. Another case of Russian hacking has been exposed.
An American cyber intelligence firm reveals this particular Russian team has been spying on NATO since 2009, as well as on other U.S. and European targets. Eyesight Partners says it doesn't know exactly what information was stolen, but believes virtually all targeted entities were compromised. The activity intensified significantly with the Russia-Ukraine conflict and NATO's September summit. Microsoft is releasing a patch to fix the Windows flaw.
That's reporter Terry Schultz in Brussels.
McDonald's entering unappetizing questions as part of a U.S. campaign to stop misconceptions that it serves Frankenfood. To help their image, the burger chain rolled out the behind-the-scenes webisodes that it's dubbed Our Food, Your Questions. In one episode, a visit to Cargill meat processing plant and questions about what's in the burgers.
Are there lips and eyeballs in there, Jimmy?
No, it's 100% beef trimmings from the cow.
In the webisodes feature Grant Imahara, the ex-host of Discovery Channel's Mythbusters.
And The Walking Dead has set a record. The Nielsen Company says 17.3 million people watched Sunday's season 5 premiere of the AMC drama. That's a record not only for the show, but for any cable TV program. Nielsen says the audience for the premiere of Walking Dead represents the largest non-sports program on cable ever, breaking the 16.1 million people who watched last season's premiere. That is
amazing.
Boy, for the zombies, that's like quite a feast. News Radio WHAM 1180 times 7:15.
Your roads are filling in for the morning commute. We'll get you a full check of traffic coming up at 7:20.
Well, it looks like today's going to be a very different day as compared to yesterday. Still somewhat mild for this time of year. I'll have the full forecast in less than 4 minutes.
The Wall Street Journal report coming up at 7:21 on News Radio WHAM 1180.
The Sabres avoided history. Details coming up in 9 minutes.
All those stories, plus researchers have zeroed in on a condition that can leave young baseball pitchers with serious problems. Dads, this one's for you. We got that in the next 15 minutes. It's Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio WHAM 1180.
When you want to catch the latest Bills action,
call Fitch Construction at 377-3330.
7:20 now on News Radio WHAM 1180. Bud is out, Heineken in. That's in 2 minutes after the Wall Street Journal report.
Right now, it's traffic and weather on the 10s. News Radio WHAM 1180.
Thanks, JP. Traffic is filling in on our inbound highways, but not many problems to report this morning. A few accidents to be aware of, however. One on 390 southbound by Scottsville Road, and another on 531 by 490. One more accident in the city on West Broad Street by the Inner Loop. Your next report at 7:30 on Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio WHAM 1180. I'm Julie DePasquale in the Salino and Barnes Traffic Center. If you've been injured, don't wait, call 8.
The forecast for today, a very different day as compared to yesterday. Cloudy skies, some occasional rain, even a slight chance of a thunderstorm. Mild, but not as warm as yesterday. Temperatures will fall through the 70s and back into the 60s today. For tonight, mainly cloudy, couple showers. We'll see temperatures drop down to the upper 50s to near 60. And for tomorrow, some breaks of sun, slight chance of a shower, upper 60s for highs. From the 13 WHAM Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Marty Snyder on Rochester's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio WHAM 1180.
Rain moving in, temperatures falling. It is rainy downtown, and it is 63 degrees.
News Radio WHAM 1180 weather, a service of the William Attar Car Accident Lawyers.
News Radio WHAM 1180 time is 7:21, and it's the Wall Street Journal report, a service of Davey Kaplan on News Radio WHAM 1180, and we bring in Jeff Bellinger from the Wall Street Journal. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, JP. Things all of a sudden getting ugly on Wall Street again. Futures were more or less holding their own up until several minutes ago, but right now the S&P futures are down 11 points. NASDAQ futures are down 17. Stocks almost had an up day yesterday, but late session selling set in again, and we had a mixed close. Dow Jones Industrials lost 5 points. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 were both slightly higher at the close. Oil prices took their biggest one-day plunge in nearly 2 years. Crude oil futures fell $3.90 to $81.84 a barrel in New York yesterday. That hit the energy sector pretty hard.